Good morning. It's Friday, September 16th, and President Xi of China and Vladimir Putin have agreed to meet again in a few days. And the last time they met was about 6 months ago, before Putin decided to have his special military operation in the Ukraine. And I don't know if the last time they met, if Putin declared that he was going to take on this task of subjugating the Ukraine to Russia. I don't know if Xi knew about that in advance, and if Xi, even if he did know about it, would have approved of it. What I do know is that the last time they met, they declared that they were going to create a new world order. One in which Russia and China would have equality with the West, if not a greater position in the world order than the West. So if that was their thinking at that particular time, the fact that Russia is losing ground in Ukraine, is a definite threat to this so-called New World Order. In fact, at that particular time, these two leaders declared a friendship with no limits. They put out a 5,000-word document that stated that there was no limits to their friendship, and they spelled out the many grievances that they had toward the United States and its allies. So if you put out a 5,000-word document and you state your case, I think that they have put themselves in a box, because now the world is seeing how powerless Russia really is. They don't look good to the rest of the world right now. And I think that that is a black mark on Xi's report card. He's preparing to be re-elected for a third term in Russia. And a great deal of that might be upset by his so-called friendship with Putin. We'll only have to wait and see. I don't think that will happen to Xi. I think he's powerful enough to overcome this idiotic relationship with Russia. And don't think for 1 minute that Xi is not smart enough to recognize the fact that Putin has botched their plans for a new world order. That Putin expected a quick victory in Ukraine. But now he's 7 months into this, and his forces are exhausted, demoralized, and running from the territories that they were fighting in. His army is deserting, stealing clothing and hiding out as if they were citizens of Ukraine trying to get away. They are leaving the occupied territories that they had held for months. And that fact has to make Xi very nervous, because if he is the ally of Russia and is expecting them to hang around and help him out, it won't happen, because a defeated Russia will only strengthen the West's view of the world, and China will have risked a stake in an unreliable asset. So China, in its great rivalry with the United States and the West, has to understand that Moscow being weak is something that the U.S. can then avoid and concentrate their efforts, along with their allies' efforts, to fend off what China's goals are. And China has a huge investment in Russia. They spent over $55 billion building a gas pipe which runs from Siberia to Shanghai. So Xi is caught in the middle of a huge conundrum. He's got financial interests in Russia, and he's got the view of the world watching what he's going to do here. And China cannot afford to lose esteem around the world. That would not be good for their plans for the future. They want to remain a powerhouse, and they can't allow Russia to drag them down into the dregs of Putin's imagination. Now, I believe that Xi is a very shrewd guy, very smart, very savvy individual, a very tough opponent in my mind. So I don't think that he's going to allow Russia to drag China down to its level. But it's going to be a tricky situation, and the world is watching it. And Xi knows that if he makes any mistakes, China's stature in the world will be diminished somewhat. And that's what the West wants. The West wants China to fail because China has proven to be very, very shrewd and very manipulative in getting to its current position in the world. They filled a gap that nobody else was willing to fill. They had the labor that was lingering in their country, and they were able to turn that labor force into an economic dynamo. And Xi cannot allow that to come apart at this point in his career. Xi, I believe, is a very smart man, and he knows the destiny of China hangs in the balance. So he's got to get Putin under control if he is to achieve the goal of being number one in the world. And that will not be an easy task because Putin wants Russia to rise up again and be the USSR again, the Soviet Union. And I don't believe that Xi agrees with that philosophy or ambition or whatever you want to call it. I think that Xi wants Russia as an ally, but not necessarily as a friend, but an ally that Xi can control, that China can control. Xi's interests run in a different direction than Putin's. They want to become a world power. They want to change the world order. But I don't think that Xi and Putin see exactly the same future. So I leave you with that. An interesting dynamic to be followed very closely. Because the USA and the West, the so-called West, their futures also hang in the balance as a result of this upcoming meeting. So take care. Have a great day. Bye.